Just 23 days until Election Day, with a new wave of women running for office. Tony Dokoupil sizes up their chances.
You would think that women are sort of taking over American politics.
You might even think, like, enough already.
Yeah, right? The attention is to the surge or the tsunami or the pink wave.
Yeah.
And so all of the rhetoric makes it appear as if women are going to be well represented. October 15th.
Kelly Dittmar has been tracking what, in some ways, really is a standout year for female political candidates.
Pennsylvania's all-male congressional delegation will change when voters go to the polls in November.
In all, more than 500 women announced runs for Congress and governorships in 2018.
We're looking at a record year for women.
Sure, we have a record number of women running.
It sounds impressive, right? But this record year looks a little different when you take the longer view, as Dittmar does at the Center for American Women and Politics at Rutgers University in New Jersey. Since the first Congress in 1789, fewer than 3% of America's national political leaders have been women, and the pace of change has been slow. The first woman, Jeanette Rankin from Montana, joined the House in 1917. But it took until 1992, the so-called Year of the Woman,
Washington is going to be a very different place,
to get to 10% representation. And today, it's just 20%.
It should be seen as a problem by any citizen in this country that over 50% of the population is only holding 20% of seats in its major policy-making body.
A desire to change those numbers is a major reason why many women are running. But it's not the only reason.
Would all this be happening if I had been elected president?
In a new afterword to her memoir, published by Simon & Schuster, a division of CBS Corporation, Hillary Clinton says she believes that in addition to Russian election meddling,
there is evidence,
and the investigation into her emails, sexism also helps explain her loss.
You mentioned a file on sexism in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really have a file?
I do. It's a file that tells a somewhat sobering story about how hard it is to break through the mindsets that people have. And it is difficult for many people, and not just men, a lot of women, to think, wait a minute, this woman is going to be a governor or a member of Congress or my mayor, or maybe even a president.
You're likable enough,
Thank
Hillary,
you so
no
much.
doubt.
A two-time presidential candidate, perhaps no one knows more about what it's like to campaign as a woman.
If you watched the way Trump debated me, it was just imbued with sexism, making fun of me for preparing. Well, you know, that's the old, like, oh yeah, the girl in the class who's always prepared. I don't need to be prepared.
I'm MJ Hagar, and tattoos can show you one of the reasons I'm running for Congress.
But this year, the expectations and the perception for female candidates may be changing.
As a commander, Elaine didn't care what political party you were in. She always put country first.
As women can be seen campaigning as powerful leaders without downplaying their gender.
Courage is contagious. I can tell you I would have never imagined running for any elected office 2 years ago.
Jahana Hayes is a candidate for the House in Connecticut. In 2016, she was Teacher of the Year, and now she's one of many women running as first-time candidates.
People should not vote for anyone because of one singular thing, but I think the fact that I am a woman, that so many women are running, adds some perspective to the conversation. Raised by my grandmother while my mom struggled with addiction, became a mom at 17. We cannot have a Congress that speaks on behalf of women and LGBTQ community, transgenders, when those people are not represented in that Congress.
Hayes is a Democrat, as are about 3/4 of the women running for seats in the House. And perhaps here's why. 92% of Democrats think it's important that women are elected to political office. 50% of Republicans feel the same.
Thank you.
But that hasn't stopped Republicans like Kimberlin Brown Pelzer.
Women tend to sit back and watch things happen from a political standpoint. And I'll tell you, the last 3 years, they've become more vocal than any time I can personally remember in history.
We'll know exactly what neighborhoods to hit.
Brown Pelzer, a former soap opera star who came to national attention at the 2016 Republican convention.
You know, one third of small businesses are owned by women.
Is a House candidate in California. who says that putting more women in office is a bipartisan goal.
I think women still don't believe that they have that opportunity. They still are afraid of stepping through that good old boys club door.
And many, including Hillary Clinton, believe the recent bitter hearings for Judge Brett Kavanaugh showed sexism is still front and center in American politics.
Look at the display we saw of Republican men in the confirmation hearings where they're yelling and screaming to a witness who's yelling and screaming.
This confirmation process has become a national disgrace.
And you saw two distinguished women senators, Dianne Feinstein, one of the deans of the Senate.
All we have.
You're interviewing me. You're interviewing me. You're doing it, Senator. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're doing it.
Amy Klobuchar, a former prosecutor, and the witness, a federal judge, is baiting them.
You're asking about, blackout. I don't know. Have you?
Questioning them? He didn't do that to the men.
The Kavanaugh hearing also turned attention back to the Me Too movement, which complicates Clinton's place in women's history. In the 1990s, she stood by her husband, Bill Clinton, as he denied allegations of sexual harassment and assault.
What role, if any, did you play in criticizing the character of the women who have accused Bill of sexual misconduct?
None.
No role?
No role. I take responsibility for my life and my actions.
She also stood by his side as he was impeached after lying about his affair with a White House intern. Some today have said he should have stepped down.
In retrospect, do you think Bill should have resigned in the wake of the Monica Lewinsky scandal?
Absolutely not.
It wasn't an abuse of power?
No.
There are people who look at the incidents of the 90s and they say a president of the United States cannot have a consensual relationship with an intern. The power imbalance is too great.
Who was an adult. But let me ask you this. Where's the investigation of the current incumbent, against whom numerous allegations have been made, and which he dismisses, denies, and ridicules? So there was an investigation, and it, as I believe, came out in the right place.
That incumbent may well be one of the reasons so many women are running for office in 2018. Still, even by the most generous projections, when all the votes are counted, Congress will still be at least 75% men. But consider this.
One of the women running for office today, for the first time, in the decades ahead, could become the first female president.
Well, I hope we get there sooner. I really do. But you're right, and maybe could be the second, third, to fourth female president. How about that?